So welcome to the video where I'm following up on a previous video I put out about a month or so ago now, where I asked for your questions in relation to my circumcision, as to why I had it, complications, various other questions which were raised, which I feel is a good time now to actually answer them. So there's a recurring theme in some of the questions which I will get onto, surrounding things like masturbation, has sex changed and such. But what I'll do is I'll just go through some of the main questions which have been raised and sent to me over the course of the last 3 years. Actually, now it would be, it's 3 years ago, I believe, in about 2 weeks' time. So it's been a while now. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to hopefully quash some worries. One of the questions which has been brought up was, why did I have it done? The reason I had to have it done was actually for a medical condition where the foreskin starting to tear and it was actually coming infected, and the doctors were getting concerned that it was leading to a possible cancer. So that follows on to the next question as to why did I not get this done by the NHS? So yes, I did go to the doctors and they did look at my condition. They prescribed me the creams which I mentioned in previous videos, which did little to actually help. So the problem being is the waiting list. So when this all happened, it was during COVID. There were big delays, and as I'm sure people know and maybe have experienced themselves, everybody was pushed back, even people in my position where there was a cancer fear was pushed back because it wasn't deemed life-threatening at that point. So I didn't want to wait. So I went down the private route. So that's why I did go down the private route as opposed to going down the NHS route. Now, luckily, going down that route, they did remove the skin. They did do testing, and yes, there was some form of skin cancer there. So it was actually a bit of luck, really, to be honest with you, that I had it done. Next question on that would be, would I have chosen to have a circumcision done? And the answer would have been no. Prior to that, I don't see the reason why. If it's not broken, why try to fix it? You know, I don't have anything against people who choose to do this out of their own free will. But I would strongly urge to choose why you're doing it. Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it because you think you can enhance your pleasure? Because you think it looks better? Whatever it may be, I just wouldn't actively have done this unless I had to, and I had no other choice. So yeah, so that's the reason why I had it done. Do I have any regrets having it done? Well, didn't really have much choice, to be honest with you. Benefits from it. Now that's a good question. So the benefits of me having it done. Well, cleaning, that's as good as anything. It's a lot easier to clean. There is a very low, someone mentioned about smoke, I thought a better word for it. I think it's the only word for it. Yeah, not that I had it before, but it is certainly something you don't really have anymore. So that's good. Sensitivity is a question which has got raised quite a few times. Has it desensitized? Yes and no. Is it a big difference? I think it depends on, prior to a circumcision, were you able to retract your foreskin in a position that it was mostly back anyway, so your glands was exposed quite often, so it kind of rubbed on your underwear and such anyway, and it desensitized in that way. If you were in a position where your foreskin wasn't naturally pulling back anyway, then yes, it certainly would have been more sensitive. So it's difficult to really give a defining answer on that. Has it affected me in that way? Very marginally, very marginally. I would have said that it's probably reduced my sensitivity no more than 15-20%, I would say. Again, this is just for me, so everybody will be different and feel different, and it's a number of different circumstances and what ifs on that. Toilet issues, that's a good thing. So actually once you've had the operation done, you are advised to go toilet by sitting down, so doing a sit down toilet. That's purely because it will go everywhere. It does. There is nothing you can do about that. It does go everywhere. And for me, it was like that for certainly until the swelling went down. So that was a good number of weeks before the swelling started to come off. And the swelling didn't really actually fully go down until a good couple of months later. But it's not to say you need to be sitting down to go to the toilet for a few months. For me, it was probably for the first few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I was sitting down. Then I believe it wasn't so bad stand up, and it kind of only missed now and again. So toilet issues, the first few weeks you will be required to sit down and go to the toilet. The scar line, there is a scar line. There is a visual scar line. It's it's like any scar. It looks worse when it starts, and as it heals, it kind of comes more duller. You can see the difference in the skin color. Yes, there is. It is noticeable. You can't not hide it. It's not quite obvious when someone's circumcised and when they're not. But it's not painful. It's not sore. It's not a problem at all for me. It's perfectly fine. And to be honest with you, now it's been 3 years. It's come part of the norm, really, to be honest with you. My frenulum, did I have that removed? Yes, I did. That was removed as well. And that actually was probably the most painful part, if I'm honest with you, on the healing. It took longer. It definitely takes longer. And there was an annoying stitch I had in there which just wouldn't come out, and it was pretty sharp. It felt sharp, and I kept getting stinging sensations quite often. And I remember when the stitches actually did start coming out, which was about 4 to 5 weeks after the operation. I was in the shower and trying to maneuver it out, but I think where the surgeon had tied it, it just wouldn't come out, and it was really, really annoying. It did in the end, it did come out and it did heal, but that part was very sensitive and very sore for a lot longer than the rest of it. That also leads me on to something else on that. I had, when they done the stitches, they also used a glue which went over the stitches to help heal. Now that was really awkward getting off. It's just wouldn't come off. It was really annoying. You had to, once things started healing up, you had to use warm water in the shower, and it kind of reduced down the glue, but it just wouldn't come off. And every time I kept trying to remove the glue, I kept thinking it was going to rip the skin. So it was a little bit annoying. In terms of the bandages, people have mentioned the bandages as well. I would strongly recommend, for my own circumstances, don't try to remove it straight away. Give it a couple of days. Give it a couple of days after the operation to remove the bandage. What I actually did to actually help me was I put on a gauze, just a light one. When I used to go anywhere for the first month or so, I'd say it was about a month, to try and help the rubbing. I found it kind of uncomfortable for me, and it kept rubbing against my boxer shorts, and when I was sleeping, it was a bit of a pain. Worst parts of it, definitely I would say nighttime erections in the first week were horrible. The reason they were horrible was it pulled on the stitches and it would bleed. It was very uncomfortable, and it was a really awful stinging sensation for me, and it woke me up constantly. So the first few weeks for me were certainly very difficult to sleep. I didn't get much sleep, and you've probably seen in some of my earlier videos, I looked quite exhausted, bags under my eyes, wasn't really sleeping very well, and I certainly wasn't moving very well. The furthest I could move was from my bedroom through to my living room, and I was like that for a good few weeks. And I did try to negotiate the stairs, and that wasn't fun either, trying to get up and down there. So yes, that's one of the questions was asked: did I have stitches or glue? I had both, so I had both of them there. Clinic I actually used, so I should have mentioned that earlier, was actually in Luton. It's a private clinic. Really highly recommend them. Very good. It's a very quick process actually, or procedure, not process. Very quick procedure. I was in and out within an hour and a half, and 40 minutes of that was the operation. The worst part of that is the actual anaesthetic. So that's the worst part. You can imagine sticking a needle in your most sensitive areas was not fun in any shape or form. Social acceptance of something and friends and that knowing. So I've never been one of those sort of people who have been that insecure. I think it's not really a big deal anymore. It's more common, I suppose, not so much in the UK where I'm based. Certainly in the US, it's certainly more common. And I've never had anybody come up to me in a shower changing room and say, "Wow, are you circumcised?" Nobody has said that to me at all. Not sure how I would react if someone said it. I would probably just say, "Yes, thanks for noticing." But yes, my friends' family, yeah, they were aware of the operation. It was very hard to hide it from them, considering I could barely walk, and I was actually meant to be going on a hike. It's about 6 weeks after the actual operation, and let's just say that it wasn't exactly easy, and I was hobbling up there. So that kind of leads into the healing time as well. And again, this is going to be very different for everybody. The doctors say after 6 weeks, this magical 6 weeks, that you can pretty much do anything you want. You can have sex, you can masturbate, you can play football, go running. Yeah, that for me wasn't happening. Not at all, not a chance. I was able to walk, yes. Walk, run, no. Go to the gym, yes. Not do lower body, not. Masturbate, out of question. Sex, very far out of question. It was still very sore, very painful. That was not happening for me. Now everybody does heal differently, but I would urge, don't rush it. There's no point. You've gone through something quite big in my mind. I would consider it as pretty much a major operation. It's a life-changing operation. So last thing you want to do is do anything which could cause a delay in healing, or even cause infection or cause further damage. So my healing time, I think after about 3 months, I'm saying 3 months, I recall it being pretty much felt like normal. So yeah, so it took me about 3 months. I do recall it was about Christmas time when I started forgetting about it, and my nieces were able to jump on my lap, and I wasn't so concerned about any pain or sensitivity. So I suppose this leads on to the question which people really want to know about masturbation. I'll start with that. So masturbation, yes, so the differences, yes, there is a difference. The main difference being, quite clearly, you don't have a foreskin anymore, so you don't have that skin which can move up and down over the top of your glands. So it's now more of a dry, for better word, dry skin, which you are now rubbing, which doesn't have self-lubrication. So if you've got rough hands, it's probably going to be uncomfortable. And if you've got soft hands, again, it's going to be uncomfortable. So masturbation is different. It's not to say you can't masturbate, dry skin on dry skin, but you run those chances of skin burn, possibly. I would highly recommend using a form of lube, a lube which is not huge in chemicals. Creates more moisture, makes it more softer, and it makes it better overall, to be honest with you. I think people use lube, or may not use lube with or without foreskin anyway. In terms of how long that took me to get to that point, I reckon a couple of months, maybe about 8 weeks, probably about 8 weeks before I tried to attempt that. And is it different? Yeah, it's well, for me it was actually sensitive. It was actually sensitive. I was actually quite pleasantly surprised, maybe because it had been so long. It's like watching that film 40 Days, 40 Nights, where you abstain for 40 days. It pretty much felt like that. So I suppose at any point it was going to be sensitive at that point anyway. It is slightly less sensitive, but for me it's not massively drastically different to what it was before. So that leads on to the sex question. And yeah, I suppose this is where, if you are with someone who has never been with someone who's never been circumcised, you may want to have the conversation with them in terms of that you will likely need to use lubrication and you adapt. But in terms of can you last longer and all these questions, again, I think that's down to the individual. I don't think it changes anything. Maybe slightly different. I mean, I certainly can't tell the difference. There was no difference to me. It feels the same. So yeah, no difference on there. There was quite a few questions about does size change? Does it change your size? No, it doesn't change your size at all. It's the foreskin's been removed. Nothing else has changed. Now, in the first early weeks, you have to remember it's going to be swollen and it's going to look different, and you may have the fear that, oh my God, it's actually shrunk. It hasn't, it's healing. So give it time and it just returns back to the normal size before you're circumcised. You will be the same size afterwards. Nothing changes. It's just purely the skin over the top has changed. So unless you've got an ultra long foreskin or added on a few more inches, it's going to be the same. So it doesn't change that. So yeah, I think that's most of the questions I've answered, which were raised. So I'm hoping that helps, and I'm hoping that these videos, even a few years later, are helping those people who are going through this procedure for whatever reason they're going through it. But I will just say it does get better. You've got to give it time. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to have the operation done on Monday and be running a marathon by Friday. It's not going to happen. I think you just need to just bear with it. And yes, there are some bits and pieces along the way which might worry you. Things like lumps on the skin now. As I mentioned in one of my videos, those lumps on the skin are actually the where they've severed the veins. It's like a knot which where the blood is going to, it's got nowhere to go and it just swells up. That naturally passes away on its own. I think I labelled that video lumps, so not to be concerned about that. That is part of the healing process. So yeah, so give it time and things get better. And I appreciate everybody who has watched these videos, and I am very thankful for all the questions which have been raised, and I'm hoping I've managed to answer any of the ones which are important to you. But yeah, thanks for watching.